they've had some wild losses. Think back to week 3, a potential game-winning field goal blocked, returned for a touchdown by the Eagles. 2 weeks later, they were stopped in the red zone on 4th and 1 in overtime and a loss to the 49ers. And then just last week, they blew that 16-point fourth quarter lead to Seattle. So the Rams have now lost 2 in a row. They're third all of a sudden in the NFC West. They'll have to now go on the road in the playoffs. Think about what we saw last night, and now those 2 losses in a row are starting to add up. The confidence level that the Rams can win 3 in a row on the road in the postseason. Where is it at, J-Mac?
I still have a ton of confidence in this team. And I know you watched that game last night and you watched Matthew Stafford throw 3 interceptions, 1 going back for a touchdown. He said, well, I don't know who the hell these Rams are that I'm watching the last several weeks. But you look at the whole picture of who they are defensively, what they have. Jared Verse blocking that field goal, returning it for a touchdown, them remaining in that game. And I think the other part of it is, look at the injuries. The guys that they were playing without last night, their starting right guard, their starting left tackle. Humphreys in there at left tackle took away 2 huge plays from Puka Nacua. One would have been a touchdown. The other one was a plus 30-yard gain. And then getting Quentin Lake back. And then also Davante Adams hasn't been out there. That's 14 touchdowns throughout the course of this season. So when I look at the Rams, I don't see another game in the playoffs where Matthew Stafford is going to throw 3 interceptions. And I also look at the NFC. There's weaknesses from all of them. So I still think the Rams can go on the road. If there's a team that can do that, it's one led by McVay and one led by Matthew Stafford. So I have a lot of confidence in this team that they still have the ability to do it in the seat that they're in right now.
There's no question about the ability of a fully healthy Rams team. That would probably be the best team in the NFC. But if they have to go on the road, I was in Carolina a month ago when they lost there. That might be the matchup. We know Carolina's not going to be scared because they know how to beat them. So they go in last night to Atlanta and lose to another NFC South team that has really nothing to play for. So there are alarming aspects of what they're doing. I think in that Carolina game, we saw if their pass rush doesn't get home, the secondary can be had, especially if you can win, you can mismatch with big receivers against their cornerbacks. So it's like you said, everybody's got flaws. Do we think the Rams are probably the best team on paper? You can make that case, but there they sit in 3rd place in their own division. So there's something that's been missing here the last month or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't overstate how big of a loss this was, going from 5th to 6th, and especially on a weekend where I feel like every team in the NFC playoffs looked a little bit worse coming out this weekend. Yeah, the Panthers, they lost to the Seahawks. Yeah. The Seahawks, Darnold still has his issues. The 49ers and the Bears could not defend anybody. And the Eagles couldn't do anything in the second half offensively. The Rams had a chance coming in Monday to dominate a Falcons team that's playing for nothing, really assert themselves as the cream of the crop in the NFC and make themselves the favorite. But now you're kind of maybe locked in to the 6th seed, which puts you going to Philadelphia instead of going to Carolina. And there is a huge difference between going to play Carolina and going to play Philadelphia. I know they lost to Carolina earlier, but if I'm the Rams, I would feel much better about that matchup than I would going against that defensive Philly.
And I agree on the seeding, but everything you started off with in that conversation where you went through all of those NFC teams and talked about the type of losses or the lack of defense in the Bears and the 49ers game is why I still give this Rams team such a good chance because of those things and those flaws. And I go back to Sean McVay as the head coach of this team and what he'll be able to do from a game plan standpoint. Yes, going to Philadelphia, would I rather go to Carolina? But you started off, Shae, and you said, hey, they lost to Philadelphia on a blocked field goal. So if you're the Rams team, you got to believe you have an offense that can possibly go into Philly and put up some points and challenge that Eagles offense to be able to do the same. When we've seen them struggle second half of that Bills game. They've won 2 games where they haven't completed a pass in the second half, the other one being the Buccaneers game. So where the Rams sit, I think, yes, it may be a tougher role, but because of what they have in their roster, they got to get back on the streak. And Sean McVay already said it. Week 18, he is playing the starters because they have to play better football.
Can I ask you a question really quick, Graz? No. Davante Adams, obviously, did not play last night. I know he's got that hamstring issue. Do you think he could come back for the postseason? Like, will he be ready to go? Okay.
I think that's their hope. I mean, we didn't see them put him on IR, right? That would have ensured he missed the first playoff game. So I do think there's some hope for that, for them being a healthy team. I wouldn't hate them in Philadelphia. They lost on a blocked field goal. They gave them a game there in the playoffs last year. So I think but the problem is they've put themselves in this position where, okay, so they win in Philadelphia. All right, well, now you got to go win in Chicago. And now you got to go win in Seattle to get to the Super Bowl. Can they do that 3 weeks in a row? That's the thing. In the NFC, I don't know if I see that team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is possible, but there's a real tight rope here between flukes and a trend. We saw those losses, right? Those losses do seem fluky, but it's happening over and over again where you have a guy like McVay, you have Stafford, you have these veterans, and you have a great coach. You're still losing these games that you should be winning, and that is probably the biggest weakness that I have for this Rams, the biggest worry I have for them going to the playoffs.
Look, last night against, we knew there wasn't a lot on the line. I know the difference in the seeding, obviously, yes, but also it felt like Matthew Stafford last night was going to play to maybe win the MVP. That's what I went into the game saying. Like, if he runs away and has a spectacular game, which unfortunately he did not, maybe he runs away with the MVP voting. That didn't happen. So before Week 17, Matthew Stafford was the heavy favorite to win MVP at minus 360 with Drake May, the second favorite at 3-1. Those odds now is basically flipped after their performances this week. May is now a minus 400 favorite. Stafford now 3-1. So last night, after what we saw, 3 turnovers, not great. Did Stafford basically play his way out of the MVP conversation? Graz, what do you think?
I think so. I mean, if it was a tight race going in, Drake May throws 5 interceptions and wins by 1,000. Or 5 touchdowns and wins by, and Matthew Stafford throws 3 interceptions and loses. I think, I mean, you can ding everybody. Like Drake May, you know, the level of competition hasn't been, but he's still, what he's accomplished, I think is better than what we've seen from Matthew Stafford in terms of the whole entire picture. So, to me, I'm looking at Sunday night and thinking to myself, why aren't we talking about Christian McCaffrey? Like, this guy, he's like the only one on the 49ers that stayed healthy, which is a reversal from a lot of other years. And here they are with a game to be the 1 seed if they win it on Saturday night. This guy's been a mainstay. He's 7th in the league in receptions, not among running backs, among everybody. I don't know. I know it's a quarterback award and for good reason, but I think this is somebody worth talking about.
You can play yourself out of it by games like this. And there are 2 games this season I actually think that Matthew Stafford kind of played the Rams out. There was this Falcons game, and then he threw a couple of those picks in Carolina. Yep. And also, he missed Xavier Smith.
The NFC South being the kryptonite for Matthew Stafford.
Right. And then the pass to Xavier Smith that he missed at the end of that game. Like, we're going to come in here on Monday and talk about Allen not getting, his receiver wide open. We got to talk about Matthew Stafford missing a wide open receiver that would have won that game. Those are the margins that we have, especially coming off of Drake May pitching a perfect game, pretty much, against, yes, it was the Jets, but it was a perfect game that he pitched. I think that you got to give it to Drake May over Stafford after what we saw last night.
Patriots quarterback, the favorite of an MVP. I mean, who doesn't like the sound of that for our guy, Drake May? You know what I mean? And yes,
I knew he'd have my back on that.
Yeah, right, did you?
Stafford did play himself out of it. Look, you can't minimize primetime games when everybody's watching and you're tuned in to throw those 3 interceptions and miss that throw late. And then the last time we saw Drake May in primetime was a Sunday night game against the Baltimore Ravens where it looked like this New England team coming off of the loss to Buffalo, like they were going to fall. And then in the fourth quarter, Drake May has some fantastic throws, and they're able to come out victorious in that game. So, yes, you can ding Drake May for the schedule, the strength of schedule, and who they've played against. But you can look at it on the other side. This was a team that in back-to-back years have 4 wins. They get a new head coach. They bring in a ton of players. And Drake May has been the guy to bring it all together with the weapons, Stephon Diggs, and all of those guys. So his play and how he has elevated this team in year 2, I think it just sticks out, and he is the favorite to win the MVP.
Right, and he won his division, and Stafford may well finish 3rd in his division, so I think that's got to count in an MVP competition.
But I will say, the NFC West feels like maybe the toughest division 100%. In all of football, where the Patriots, we've talked about the schedule, I mean, the Patriots have beaten 1 team with a winning record now, when you look at it.
Yeah, we could talk about, and strength of schedule, of course, that always goes into it, but Allen, of course, they were 27th strength of schedule, he won MVP last year, so I think that,
that's true.
People can overlook that.
I do love the Christian McCaffrey conversation. Yeah. It's going to go to a quarterback. But what he's been able to do when the best defensive guys on their team are out and they're giving up a ton of points, when he played most of the season without his starting quarterback, they've missed George Kittle as well, and he has completely carried that team, running and catching the football. I love that argument.
Brandon Ayuk never showed up. They traded Deebo Samuel. I mean, he's been the constant for the 49ers.
So I guess help me understand this. How could he play his way into that conversation? Is it like...
Well, they'd have to win Saturday night. Yep.
Okay.
He probably has to have a game like Derrick Henry had this past Saturday night.
Right.
And then, I mean, see, I don't think Drake May can necessarily play himself out of it at this point. It would just be a matter of perception shift. I haven't polled the voters. I'm not one of them.
I'm just thinking here, like, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
How can Christian McCaffrey get into this conversation quicker than we
If they end up with the 1 seed,
Okay.
And then he has the monster game to clinch it.
Dominates a great Seahawks defense. I think he's got.
They'll find another quarterback to give it to. Caleb Williams will have an outstanding game.
Oh, the music to my ears. Go ahead. You can say that a little bit louder. We mentioned Matthew Stafford. Obviously, he felt like he was the odds-on favorite up until last night, but the NFC South has kind of been his kryptonite. And so last night, 195 yards on the ground. Bijan Robinson, would you say now, after what you went, I mean, they had really nothing to play for. The Falcons didn't last night. Yet still, this guy continues to be so impressive and kind of flies under the radar just because the Falcons haven't been great this season. Do we think maybe he's the best offensive player in football?
Absolutely. It's Bijan Robinson. And, maybe it's because I live in Atlanta. I see him all the time. People are talking like this dude is transforming this franchise. They should have been in the playoffs. They blew up too many games, but 2,200 yards from scrimmage, the most yards from scrimmage before the age of 24, and he's done it with two different quarterbacks, and we saw it on prime time, two prime times, Bills, Rams, two teams that could be in the Super Bowl. He basically single-handedly won this game for the Falcons offensively. There should not be anybody more feared offensively than Bijan Robinson. I think we started the season, we talk about Justin Jefferson, we talk about Jamar Chase. It's Bijan Robinson right now.
I mean, I think one of the things I go to is talking to his peers. Like running backs around the league will say, oh, yeah, no, that's the guy. Like, that's the guy who can take over the league and be that special. And you see what he can do in the passing game as well as running the ball. So, yeah, they've been in prime time a bunch this year because they were supposed to be good. Right. So he has performed at that level, and I think people have taken notice. But, no, he is just the way he moves. I mean, the long touchdown run, just the first cut he makes, I don't know. I mean, he's obviously special playing on a team that's capable of more.
Two things. Last night, I couldn't get over the fact Buck and Aikman continue to say, Bijan told him, he always knows where the unblocked defender is when he's getting the football. And the amount of times he makes that guy miss as if it's nothing. And the second thing, when you watch Bijan Robinson in these primetime games and you look at what the Falcons' record is, and then you look at the division in which they play in, where there could possibly be a three-way tie of a mediocre record, and you're just like, how the hell are we not going to get an opportunity to watch Bijan Robinson in the playoffs in a meaningful game and get to see that breakout type of performance that puts him on that stage, because he is unbelievable with the ball in his hands no matter where you give it to him, and that's when the entire defense knows he's getting the football. It is so impressive and fun to watch.
Okay, but the question was, is he the best offensive player in football? You just talked about how Christian McCaffrey maybe should have a nod at MVP. You wouldn't say he maybe is the best offensive player?
Of course, that's the conversation. I just think when you talk about, like, when you watch Bijan Robinson right now, Christian McCaffrey's doing everything they ask him to do. And there was certainly a time when he ran the way Bijan Robinson runs now. But I don't think that he's still running that way. He's doing everything they need him to do. He's incredible. He's in the conversation. If you want to argue he's better, sure. But Bijan Robinson, when you watch him and you look at what he's doing on a team that, doesn't have a lot else in terms of, offensive success. Drake London's been out. Kyle Pitt's inconsistent. You mentioned, somebody mentioned the quarterback change. Yeah, I think he's definitely that guy. Or if not, then certainly, not far from being there.
I know you think he's the best offensive player in football. You also live in Atlanta, though, so maybe you're a little, a little biased.
I'm a Saints fan, so it hurts my soul to be talking about Bijan Robinson.
Fine.
Like
this. The best?
I would take Christian McCaffrey right now in the sense of his team is winning games, and a lot of it has come down to him. And that's without the help of a George Kittle. That was without the help of a Brock Purdy of being out. So I would take Christian McCaffrey in this season because he's done a lot of the same things. It may not look as stylish as Bijan Robinson putting the football over top of somebody,